Are we waiting for a speaker? Is there somebody? Yes. Testing. Okay, much better. Great. So are we waiting to see if somebody wants to speak for the open time? Cindy?
Mr. Eigsty?
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Are you going to keep track of time, Cindy?
I just, hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I just got on Zoom. I'm here for the 4 Chestnut project. I don't have anything for public time. I just was not sure what was happening. When I joined, it seemed like there was some technical issues. So I'm just here for the 4 Chestnut project.
Sounds good. Is there anybody else that wants to speak during open time?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. So we'll move on to the town council recognition of Beach Cool for his service as mayor. I believe it's my honor as the current mayor to thank the past mayor. And I just want to tell everybody who doesn't know that the mayor, the vice mayor and the mayor get together weekly with the town manager and we set the agenda. And so we get to spend a lot of time together. And it's been a great pleasure to spend the last year with Beach at these weekly meetings because, well, we've done it periodically over these years. I think we get better with years of experience. So we've managed to get these meetings to the point where we know what's on the agenda, what should go on the agenda, what can be moved from the agenda. And Beach is always very good at running a tight agenda and saying what should be where. So it's been my great pleasure to work with you, Beach, these 11 years, but particularly this past year. And as usual, you've done a great job running these meetings and kind of leading us through at what is at times difficult discussions. So with that, I want to provide you with a gift in case you don't have enough Town of Ross swag. Here you go, and thank you very much. I think you should open it now. Okay.
you very much. I really have enjoyed being the mayor for the last year. There are some particular entities I want to thank, starting with our staff, who, despite many changes in the personnel who compose our staff, have always been available and have gotten a lot done during this year. Secondly, I want to thank my colleagues. Although we sometimes disagreed about things, maybe more than sometimes, we always did it in a nice collegial way, and it's we all are friends with each other, and I appreciate it. And finally, I want to thank the residents of Ross, who have always given us their support and their continuing advice on all sorts of matters, which are very helpful to us. We have had some meetings this year to try to map out what our civic center was going to be once we closed the firehouse, and we had a lot of people get in on that. And of course, there's another issue that we always got a lot of response of, and that's dogs. So with that, thanks very much. I've really enjoyed being mayor.
Thank you. The next item is the mayor's report. As some of you may know, the council elects a new mayor in June, and I was honored to be nominated and selected by the council. This will be my 12th year on town council and my 3rd term as mayor. It is largely a ceremonial role whereby the mayor organizes the agenda in consultation with staff, runs the meeting, and acts as a primary point of contact for the council. The real decision-making continues to be via the 5 members of the council. The council does a lot of work behind the scenes that many people don't know about. For example, the council serves on committees and other agencies throughout Marin. We adopt annual budgets that have to deal with pensions, liabilities, and plans for capital improvements and upgrades, often years out. And we have to pass an insane amount of laws to be in compliance with state law that requires we adopt various rules and regulations. It never ceases to amaze me how much work is required to run a small town. In the next year, a number of very important decisions will have to be made. First, the town is part of the Ross Valley Fire Department, which will be considering a potential merger or shared services with Central Marin Fire Department. Second, the town will have to decide the path forward with the Ross Valley Fire Department, given some recent conflict between Ross Valley Fire Department board members. Other members of the Ross Valley Fire Department board have demanded that Ross pay for improvements to the town of San Anselmo and town of Fairfax fire stations, notwithstanding a contractual agreement that requires each town to pay for the improvements of their own fire station. The request is unprecedented, and it is contrary to the contract that the town of Ross, Fairfax, and San Anselmo signed. As elected officials, it is our job to use taxpayer money wisely and not to give away public funds. Finally, I want to express my appreciation to the Ross Rec staff for once again putting on a fun 4th of July event for the town. The Ross Police Officers Association's food stand was a big hit, and the dog contest was a fun new addition. It was great to see so many residents on the 4th, and I know I speak for the entire council when I say riding in the parade and throwing candy to the children is my absolute favorite council duty. I look forward to working with the council and staff in the coming months, and if you happen to have any questions or concerns regarding the town, please let me know. With that, the next item is council, committee, and liaison reports. Are there any committee or liaison reports?
I have one. I went to I'm not sure it's an annual meeting, although it probably is because we adopted a budget of the Association of Bay Area Governments. It's a regional planning agency, including 9 counties in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm happy to report that although Ross's fees have gone up, they're still pretty minor, and the increase was not unexpected. ABAG is having some financial issues, mostly concerning its pension obligations, and it's considering some options as to how to further pay down its pension obligations, something Ross has been doing as well and is very, very advisable. We also had some presentations about the housing situation, a fascinating presentation by somebody from the Brookings Institution about how to sort of reimagine the Bay Area housing and business landscape, taking into account transportation. Very something I really do recommend. It's on the internet if anybody has any interest. But ABAG's big priority is to do something about housing and homelessness in the Bay Area. Something I think we all agree is a major issue. But they're actually doing something. Okay.
Thank you. Does anybody else? Beach, do you want to give a report on the last fire board meeting, or would you like me to?
Yes.
Okay, so Ross Valley Fire Department met last month, and we have another upcoming meeting. And as it referred to in my mayor's report, the request was that the reserves that are part of the Ross Valley Fire Department reserves be drawn down and then money used to repair 3 stations that are owned by San Anselmo and Fairfax. As indicated, that's not what the contract says. And so Ross has objected to that. And the next fire board meeting, which is next week, it would have been last night, but it got pushed out a week. They have it, as we understand it, agendized to take up that decision again. And because there was not before unanimity to do this, with Ross objecting solely on the basis that its funds should not be used for repair of other fire stations, they have proposed to work around that contractual provision and vote to approve just under 3%, which is a threshold in the agreement, to get the money that requires unanimous consent. Really separate from the unanimous consent, you can't do it under the contract because it's not supposed to be Ross's obligation, but that's a separate issue and question of violation. So at any rate, that they've come up with a theory, a way of working around it to take the funds without Ross's agreement. And that will be on the agenda on July 19th, which is Wednesday night, at the Ross Valley Fire Department. So if anybody wants to follow that, you may listen into that meeting or attend that meeting, which will be at San Anselmo Town Hall. With that, we'll move on to staff and community reports. Krista, do you have a report you'd like to give?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. Let's see, just 3 items this evening. The Laurel Grove Pedestrian Pathway Project began construction this week. The work consists of installing 1,200 feet of new asphalt pathway and concrete barrier from Magic up to the private driveway known as Monte Alegra. The next segment is scheduled for spring of 2024, and that will continue the pathway and the roadway reconstruction up to the Canyon Road intersection. So there will be some inconvenience, but we believe a greater pedestrian mobility in our town. Second item is just want to make sure everybody gets the town dinner on their calendar. It is going to be held Friday, September 22nd this year. It is held on the Ross Common from 5:30 p.m. to approximately 9 p.m. It's a week earlier this year so as not to conflict with the Jewish holiday, which is the following Friday. Enjoy an evening of food and beverage while you dine, potluck style, under the lights with your neighbors on the Ross Common. The town will provide live music to complement this wonderful evening. Bring your own picnic and beverage to enjoy. The town provides tables, linens, chairs, live music, decor, and a special post-dinner activity. This is a special treat. After dinner is done, there will be a local dancing instructor, Jasmine Worrell, on the stage from 7:30 to 8:30, teaching all those interested to swing dance. Register on the Ross Recreation website at www.rossrecreation.org. And before that, we also have another exciting event here in town. Our police chief, Pata, and his team is going to be conducting our second annual National Night Out on Tuesday, August 1st. The location is the grass area by the post office. Starts at 4:30 to 7 p.m. that evening. This event has been going on in places other than Ross since the 1970s. So it's a 40-year event that is held around the country. 38 million people have participated in over 16,000 communities. And so we are proud that Ross is now one of those communities. The event is designed to bring law enforcement in the community together. The fire department will also be invited this year to attend. If you were able to go by last year, it was a super sweet event, a block party. We had quite a few neighbors and a bunch of kids come by on bicycles and skateboards. This year, they are going to have gun safety handouts and trigger locks, as well as other public safety information. And again, that is Tuesday, August 1st. We invite you to come on down to the grassy area by the post office for National Night Out. And so ends my report. Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to make a brief comment about the construction on Laurel Grove. I was walking my dog past there today and talked to many of the workers, and they are shocked at how fast people are going on Laurel Grove, like 45, 40, even though it's one lane. So thank you, Chief Pata.
Next, we have Ross Property Owners Association. Is there somebody here within a report?
There's no one online.
Okay. Move on to the consent agenda. Would any member of the council like to remove a consent agenda item? Would any member of the public like to be heard on a consent agenda item?
There are no hands online.
With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins? Aye. Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, the motion passes.
The next item is public hearing of planning projects, Part 1, and it's 18 Canyon Road Design Review, Hillside Lot Permit, and Nonconformity Permit in consideration of Resolution 2326.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, the applicant at 18 Canyon Road is requesting approval of design review, a hillside lot permit, and a nonconformity permit. The project proposes to remodel and renovate the existing nonconforming single-family home. The project includes conversion of a portion of the existing single-family home, which is 434 square foot, into a new 731 square foot ADU. The ADU meets all of the requirements for ministerial approval, and it's not part of the design review process. The project proposes to transfer the 434 square foot of the existing single-family home to the lower level of the home. A portion of the lower level addition encroaches into the side yard setback. Therefore, the nonconformity permit is required. Staff would like to clarify that the project information table on page 2 of the plans is incorrect and needs to be updated to reflect the correct information. Thank you.
Okay. Does any member of the council have a question? Is there anybody who wanted to present on behalf of the applicant, knowing that you don't have to? Our procedure would be that we would allow for you to rebut any comment by the public if you wanted to after, and you wanted to pass on comments. If I may, I just want to address the Sorry.
Speak right into the microphone. Introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Daniel Castor. I'm the architect for this project. I apologize for the embarrassing mistakes on the project information panel. Let me just address that. I'm not sure why the numbers are bonkers, but if you go to sheet A 0.0, the zoning parameters table, on the floor area, the second clump of numbers, under the existing, those numbers are correct. So on the lower level, which is currently some storage in a 1.5 car garage, that's 784, and we're bringing the 434 square feet and adding that for a total of 1,218 square feet. The main level, which is 1544, that's correct. We're adding 297 square feet, which is part of the ADU, for a total of 1,841 square feet.
I'm sorry, could you go over that again? I'm
Sure.
a little lost.
I'm sorry, I'll do it more slowly. So everybody on A 0.0?
Yes.
Okay. So the first horizontal lines are lot area, easements, buildable area. Under that is the floor area.
Yes.
Okay. There's the first column, which is the code standard. The second column are the existing numbers. So lower level is 784, main level is 1544, upper level is 771, with a total of 3,099 square feet. So that's existing. The proposed numbers on the lower level, that should be 1,218, 1,218. That is including the 434 additional square feet, which we're adding to the lower level, okay? On the main level, that number, the proposed number should be 1841. That is because we're adding 297 to the existing 1544. The upper level does not change, 771. So the total floor area is actually correct. It's 3,830. But because 731 square feet of that is the new ADU, the house itself is unchanged. It's 3,099. Does that make sense?
So
Okay.
it's 3099 without the ADU.
Correct.
Okay.
So that number doesn't change.
You know what I was confused by was, and I would have been confused by those numbers, but I guess I looked at them differently. But what is the, beneath the total gross floor area, there's that calculation, which I didn't quite follow.
Well, I couldn't even do it. I had to ask Alec to do it. He has a nifty program where he just plugs in the numbers, but I couldn't explain it to you. I guess that's not a good answer.
So you can't explain it. You want me to ask Alex, is what you're saying?
Well, Alex is the one who provided the number. It's just a very confusing formula.
Is it for the hillside
Yeah,
calculation?
well, I think so. Yes, for the lots 30% slope. What is that whole formula you got?
Yeah, so we have an Excel spreadsheet where which calculates the lot size plus the percentage of the slope, and it gives us a number. It's kind of difficult math. I wouldn't be able to do it, but
So the calculation, does it come out with the allowable FAR would be 3,235?
That's correct.
So it's below because it's 3,099. Because sometimes we get a percentage, sometimes this.
Sometimes
this
it's simpler.
project Information
It's-
is done as a percentage, and then we can,
I don't know where the formula comes from for the hillside ordinance, but yeah.
Yes, for the hillside, there's not a percentage for the FAR more, so there's just a maximum square footage.
and the maximum square footage is 3,235.
I do not have the answer for that right now.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, that it's under code standard, that's what it's saying. Okay. Okay, does anybody, are you done with your comments, or did you
I
have
was
more
just going to
comments?
say that I think hopefully you'll agree that the project is pretty straightforward. We are adding some mass to the back, but it's not in a very visible location. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Is there any member of council that has any questions? And is there any member of the public that wishes to be heard on this item?
There are no raised hands online.
Okay. Bring it back to the council then.
I move we approve resolution 2326 in the hillside lot, in the nonconformity permit.
Second.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item. For some reason, I can't get back to that agenda.
Because I live close to that project, I have to recuse myself.
Yeah. Sure. The next item is 4 Chestnut Avenue, design review, hillside lot permit and variance, and town council consideration of resolution 9327.
Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Haley Gravelding. I'm the owner at 4 Chestnut. I've met some of you. Beach is my neighbor. And some of you may have met my husband, Craig, who's out of town now, but when you came over. So Brad Eitzley, our landscape architect, is on the phone and he's able to speak to the project.
Thank you. Did you have any report to do?
Yeah, just a brief presentation.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
I jumped the gun.
The applicant at 4 Chestnut is requesting approval of design review, hillside lot permit, and a variance. The project is requesting to remove and replace the existing Faline rock retaining walls with new concrete retaining walls and to replace the concrete patio at the pool with artificial turf. The project also plans to relocate the pool equipment to the existing shed. The project is also requesting a new outdoor kitchen and side yard setback. A variance is requested to allow for the construction of a new outdoor kitchen and the construction of new concrete wall over 48 inches within the side yard setback. Thank you.
Great. And so do you want Brad to speak at this point in time? Well, I'm sorry, let me just ask if council has any questions. Does anybody have any questions?
I just had a question on the plans. There's a little notation that has a little outside barbecue area, and I'm just wondering what the scope of the outdoor kitchen is, and maybe Brad can speak to that.
Yeah. Am I on here?
Yes.
The outdoor kitchen is just gonna be a really simple, I think we're even gonna buy a prefabricated barbecue and set it up against basically the existing wall that is there. We're gonna, a lot of the scope of this project is to take the rock wall that's along the pool right now that is falling apart, and during the winter, especially when the rain comes, the water and mud and dirt just comes kind of through that wall and over the wall, and it gets into the pool and all over the patio. So the bulk of this project is to take that rock wall out that's along the uphill side of the pool and to replace it with a concrete wall and then take the excavated material and expand the turf. This project, I think that the trigger was that we were moving excess of, I think, 40 cubic yards of soil and therefore we needed to go through the planning approval process. So the barbecue is meant to be really simple and not be a big structure or anything like that, just really a grill and a small counter space.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a picture of it? I don't think we saw it on the plans. Oh, there.
I could see if I could dig something up. It's a Danver makes a prefabricated barbecue. It's really just a grill with a couple cabinet drawers and a small counter space.
And the variance, there's a variance required because that's in the setback, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes? Okay, thank you.
And the variance is also because of the walls being taller than 4 feet. And my understanding is that variance is on both sides of the property. So you'll go above the 48 inches by the kitchen, and then you're pushing out towards the street, and you'll end up with you're filling in the space. You know how you kind of can look over that path? So you're filling in, they're taking the earth and they're putting it over there to fill that in. And then they'll go over 48 inches on that side. So kind of towards that laurel bush.
Yeah, we've worked to keep the walls less than 6 feet in height. And the construction access is so challenging here that we're really trying to balance the cut and the fill where we don't remove any soil from the site. So a lot of this the effort is to balance the excavation and cut fill material where we're not hauling anything away. So, and yeah, the variance is required because this lot is extremely narrow, and I think we ended up with about a 1 foot in the center of the lot or 2 foot buildable area regarding the setback requirements. So, and the pool is existing. I just want to make sure that that's really clear, is that the existing oval shaped pool is existing and not changing. And then we are taking out concrete paving to reduce the impermeable surface. We're creating a much more pervious surface material on this proposal as well.
Right. I thought what was confusing to me, then I got it when I was out there, was I didn't understand initially that in addition to the kitchen, you were, going out across from the kitchen and filling that in. That's what was confusing. I mean, it does say you're asking for a variance in the setbacks plural. So that, I guess, could alert me to it, but I just wasn't clear on that part of it until, I just happened to ask when I was out there, the owner, and then that became, was pointed out to me.
Yeah, currently there's kind of this old pathway that goes up to the pool from the lower yard, and it's overgrown and falling apart. And we basically just wanted to reclaim, this yard is really pretty small as it is, and we just wanted to reclaim that area and make it a usable turf space and again, balance the soil moving where we don't have to haul anything away.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. Can we open up for public comment?
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, bringing it back to the council then. Is there any further discussion, or is there a vote?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2327.
Second?
Councilmember McMillan,
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins,
Aye.
Mayor Breckus,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kircher. With a vote of 4, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on.
Let me go get, Chief Potter was going to do that. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Give your agenda back.
If we didn't have these technical problems, we would be done by now. Okay, so we're going to take item number 12, Town Council consideration adoption of Resolution 2325, approving the town storm drain condition assessment and capital improvement master plan. And we have a staff report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Breckus, council members, Rich Simonich, Public Works Director. First off, I have a couple of corrections on both the staff report and the resolution. On the staff report, under the fiscal resource and timeline impacts, the first sentence, master plan recommends a total of not $438,000, but $300,000. The $438,000 includes some improvements to the privately maintained storm drain systems, which we did take into account just for an assessment purposes, but we want to be on record that this master plan is going to concentrate on the town maintained portion, which is about $300,000. And then, so that translates to the fourth whereas on resolution 2325. You'll be happy to know that the estimated construction costs are not $13.7 million, but about $300,000. So I apologize that $13.7 million was transferred over from the template resolution that I used. So we will make those changes and any other changes that may arise during this presentation. So about 4 years ago, during the capital improvement program and CIP study, the town manager and I were reviewing our process for developing annual storm drain projects to be worked on whether it be maintenance or replacement. And we realized that we didn't really have a true master plan to reference or to guide us through each year of preparing capital improvement programs. We did have some large storm drain projects that we had identified through sort of a catch-as-catch-can type storm drain master plan, which we used to implement the storm drain replacement in Lagunitas and Roscommon. And I think that was around year 2000. And of course, the Bolinas storm drain and some of the non-HBP funded portions of the Lagunitas Bridge replacement project. In addition to those projects that first one, let me talk a little bit about the ordinance that created the drainage impact fee that kind of moved this whole process along. So the ordinance that created that stated that the money was to be used for a townwide drainage study, preparation of a drainage master plan, construction, maintenance, and implementation of improvements and a thorough mapping and evaluation of the town's drainage system. So it looked like we started mapping the storm drain system, both private and public, pretty comprehensive mapping done by hand about in 1990, based on our system in 1990. It was slowly transferred to a GIS, a Geographical Information System. It was completed around 2006, but first it was based on our storm drain system it's now about 33 years old, and it was really never updated. That's our asset management system. So while it is comprehensive, it is very outdated and needed some work. So moving forward then, so we hired Schaff and Wheeler to prepare this storm drain. It's a condition assessment, really. It's not so much a master plan. Condition assessment of our current system, and it also closed the loop on some mysteries about what storm drain goes where and under whose house, and and actually filled in a lot of blanks that helped me prepare and update the GIS system so we have an accurate asset management system for our storm drains. So we can keep a record in the GIS database of maintenance, improvements, every time we clean out the storm drain system and every time we add a new element of the storm drain system. So Schaff and Wheeler completed this, the draft storm drain condition assessment just recently, a few weeks ago, and it analyzed both the public storm drain system and the private system. Now, by analyzing, all we did was determine the condition of it. We didn't do any hydraulic studies on it. That was my decision because Ross is kind of unique. So we have a lot of hillside gradients, and the stormwater just, if it's not barreling through the storm drain up there on the hillside, it's running down the street. And when it comes down to the valley, as we all know, the Corte Madera Creek starts going over bank at a 6 or 7 year storm event. Now, normally we design storm drains in municipalities to accommodate the 10-year storm. So by the time you're in a 10-year storm here in Ross, the entire system is flooded and inundated. So there was really no reason for us to spend any money on determining the capacity of the storm drain system here in the valley. To that point, that's why it's important when flood control proposes projects that raise the 100-year or even the 10-year, 25-year water service in the channel, that translates to the surrounding neighborhoods. That'll also increase the hydraulic grade line in the surrounding neighborhoods. But that aside, we completed the condition assessment, and we are, it's a tool that we're going to use throughout the next 5 or 10 years to continue spending on the drainage fund, which is primarily and almost entirely funded by the drainage impact fees that we collect from building permits. I believe they did a very good job on giving us some costs and analysis and the condition of our storm drain. It's actually in pretty good shape. We've been, year by year, we have been keeping up on new maintenance programs, replacement of storm drains, and during storms, we do a lot of jetting and clearing of the storm drain lines. So we're actually in pretty good shape. So to know that we only need to spend about $300,000 over the next 5 to 10 years is very doable with our current drainage fund balance, which is close to about $1 million. But again, we do have some large storm drain projects. We have the Bolinas Drain extension, and in addition to the numerous projects that were identified in this plan. So that really ends my discussion and my presentation of this report, but I am here definitely to answer any questions you might have on this storm drain condition assessment.
Yes.
Rich, I'm unsure if a road is private, if the town maintains the storm drains, or if the landowners who maintain the road are also supposed to maintain the drains that are connected to the private road.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's not really written down anywhere, but that is something I want to start mapping. So what we did is, if, of course, all driveway culverts are private, whether it's on the town-maintained roadway or not. A driveway culvert is there for the sole purpose of a private owner to access his property, so they have to maintain that. Up in the non-town maintained roadways, all of those storm drain crossings that cross the non-town maintained roadways are to be maintained by the property owners up there. The town does not have jurisdiction to maintain those storm drains. It gets a little bit cloudy when you have private runoff coming down the hill and then entering the town's storm drain system, and then there's instances where it again enters a private system. And some of this money that we've allocated to the private system would be to install what we call turning structures at the point where the town maintained system enters a private system. we want to make sure there's a structure right there so that we can, if there's a clog in the private system, we can clean that out, or we can clean out the public system. So again, it is kind of a gray area, but the basics are the culverts that cross privately maintained roadways are privately maintained storm drains.
I think it would be helpful for everyone to understand that the town does not maintain the storm drains on private roads. So maybe there's a way to communicate that to people.
I think that would be a good article for our monthly newsletter to let people know, especially as the rainy season's coming up, and we are expecting a strong El Nino event this winter. So I can incorporate that into our winter preparedness.
So I had a question. The resolution I was asked to sign, the fourth whereas says, and maintenance cost of approximately $450,000. So
I must have changed it in time? Oh, you did? I read your email and I changed it. Okay. The amount is different. Right, so, and again, so the $450,000 includes the private, our estimated cost for someone to maintain the private sector. So if we take that out, the private storm drain system. So if we take that out, we're left with $300,000.
Okay, so I think the resolution might need to be a little more clear, because it doesn't say it's, our obligation. I mean, maybe we can just amend the resolution to say, maintenance cost of approximately $300,000 from the town, with an additional maintenance needed of approximately 150 of, private resident expenditure, because right now it's not that clear.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I can easily add that to clarify that one sentence.
Okay.
So that it'll, when you go to, this is just a draft, and when you go to sign it, we'll have that clarified. We're $300,000 for the public storm drain, and additional $150,000 would be used for the private. I want to make sure we're not saying that we're going to be funding the private storm drain system, but I'll clarify that in the sentence.
Okay. And then for the high priority storm drain, 130 feet on Poplar, like how soon can we get that done? I mean, I know is that, you haven't gone on to bed and you just got this report, it sounds like.
Right.
But is that in danger? It's the condition of the pipe versus the ability of the pipe to transport the water, right?
Right. So I think that one is not a replacement, right? It's clearing out the debris. Yeah, I want to take care of most of those within the next couple of years, where we go through, we jet and clear all of those, the high priority ones.
I mean, do we have a concern about heavy debris and sediment in a pipe like that, creating a localized flooding problem?
There is that concern, yes.
And there's no way we can get to it before the winter?
There is. I actually have money set aside for the Vector trucks to jet a few pipes out. Actually, we identified 2 on Laurel Grove just this week. So yeah, the high priority ones, I can, with the upcoming possibility of a storm system, I can do the high priority ones this year.
I think that would be great. I mean,
Yeah.
there was just a New York Times article this week about how, where we all have to worry about flooding even where there wasn't flooding. So I feel like, for an area like this where we have flooding, we really need to be worried. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, is there a motion with respect to this I'm sorry, public comment. Is there public comment?
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, so back to the council, is there a motion?
I move we approve Resolution 2325 with the amendments that Mr. Simonich made.
Second.
Great.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Great. So the next item is the item 13. Rich, that's you also, consideration of the Ross Tree Inventory and Management Plan.
It is, and I'm in need of a USB port because the server doesn't work here. So I'm going to remove the mouse. I'm sure that's the mouse radio thing. Okay. Yeah, this might take a moment. It's finding an error on my drive, but I'm fixing it. Yeah. Hopefully it's still there. So I can get started on this item while the PowerPoint is moving forward. So back in 2020, early 2023, actually late 2022, I had conversations with the town manager about risk management for the trees on town property, Ross Common, the town hall, all the way to the Public Works building. Kittle Park across the street, Frederick Allen Park, Natalie Coffin Green Park, and those the parcels up by the bus stop at Bolinas and Sir Francis Drake. I think those are the old railroad parcels. To do a risk management assessment on all of the trees that the town actually maintains. There's some confusion, well, the town doesn't maintain any trees here because but that is not true. We do maintain the trees on our private property. So we hired Bartlett, team of arborists, to prepare this tree inventory and management plan. Now, I should be able to get this going here. Okay, and then slideshow from the beginning, and then I need to share screen, correct? Oh. Yeah, I should be here. We go. Okay. My gosh, it's gonna work. Okay, except that always blocks everything. Here we go. Slideshow from the beginning. Okay, apologize for that. So we have the staff presentation of the 2023 Town of Ross Tree Management, Tree Inventory and Management Plan. So the discussion tonight, we're going to do an overview of the inventory project locations, which I just did go over. We're going to have a summary of the tree inventory and condition assessment process, and the summary of the mitigation techniques that are recommended by the report, and then an overview of the ArborScope web-based tree management system, which is pretty cool. Really great little application that Anthony and I are starting to use. So an overview of the project locations, like I mentioned, Town Hall, Kittle Park, Ross Common, Frederick Allen Park, Natalie Coffin Green Park, what I call the railroad parcels, which is the bus stop area. And then we have the winding road hairpin curve. So that's a large piece of public right-of-way up on Winding Road that is abutted by about 5 different property owners. And historically, i.e. long before I got here, the Public Works Department kind of gave up on trying to figure out which of these 5 property owners would be responsible every time there was an issue with the tree. So we being the Department of Public Works, has been addressing when a tree falls or a tree needs trimming in that location on Winding Road. So it wasn't therefore included in this assessment. The actual tree inventory and condition assessment report, we identified 429 trees total inventoried, 45 species. The basic condition assessment, 55% in good condition and 27 in fair, 18% in poor. And a good condition means it's mostly, it looks healthy. Fair condition is acceptable, and it's pretty type of loose. It's all they can do with a true visual assessment. And poor is like parts of it are still alive, but most of it's kind of dying. And then we did have 1% that was dead. That's actually one tree, less than 1% of the total reviewed. Overall risk assessment from a level 2 assessment, we found 12 that are high risk, and bear with me what high risk means here in a minute. 34 is a moderate risk. So the report, when it develops these high, moderate, and then low risk, a tree in good condition can be a high risk tree, and a tree in poor condition can be a low risk tree. So what the Association of International Arborists do is they have a complex matrix of the condition of the tree, and then where that tree is located, what its actual target would be. Is it located in an area where there's a pathway, where there's a lot of people? Are there, is it going to, possibility it's going to hit a car or hit a power line, something like that. So it's a little bit complex, and I didn't want to drag it out too far as to how this particular group and organization designates risk, but it is something that will provide town staff with the ability to develop our own risk management plan that fits our town and our culture. Summary of the tree risk mitigation techniques they used and that they recommend while we're mitigating the high-risk trees is do soil sampling, soil fertility testing, root invigoration, mulching around the trees, root collar excavation, that's digging out at the base of the tree and looking for rot or other issues with the tree health. Basic pruning techniques, tree removal, and kind of low-hanging fruit here is vine removal. There's several trees that we would just need to get rid of the ivy vines to improve its health. So with these tree risk management techniques, these are additional things that we're using in a phased approach to start improving the health and reducing the risk to the public for the trees maintained by the town. So it's kind of a overview here of the ArborScope tree management software. It's kind of a GIS-based software. You see all the little dots there up on the screen. So those are all the trees that we did evaluate, or that Bartlett did evaluate. And this is kind of zooming up on the town hall area. And let me just see if I can highlight this. There we go. One of my eyeball. Town hall here, all the trees up here that go back to the courtyard area, the trees along Sir Francis Drake, the frontage of our property, which we are responsible for. Ross School over here, at little parks right in there. Ross School is here. We have poplars there. That's the post office area parking lot. And then Frederick Allen Park, all these trees were evaluated for health. And then what's not shown is what we have, actually it's probably back here, this is Dibley Road on the way up to Phoenix Lake. We evaluated those trees. Even though the roadway is in the MMWD parcel itself, The parcels on both sides of the road are owned by the town of Ross, the Natalie Coffin Green Park parcel, and then we do own a parcel along the slopes on the northwesterly side of the roadway there. And what's not shown is the Winding Way group of trees, which actually are mostly acacia trees, which of course have been identified as a fire hazard. I talk a little bit about fire hazard and what this report actually, it does not provide recommendations for fire hazard in its risk management assessment. That's not a part of the arborist, this particular arborist-based report. So, but they have provided the report and the software for the town to work with the Ross Valley Fire District and identify the trees on our property that are high fire risk and work on mitigation processes there. So yeah, so you can select, zoom up and select one of these bubbles and you can get the identification of each of the trees that they found, the type of tree, age class, condition class, what its work phase is for mitigation. This one in particular this is a coast redwood on town hall property. It's in pretty good shape, low risk. It's a phase 3, so it's down the road where it's going to require some mitigation. And this is a typical report that we can generate with the entire database. This particular one was trees recommended for based on a level 2 assessment. You can't really read this, but this is tree removal, tree pruning, structural support systems, root collar excavation. So this lists the ID of each tree that requires these types of mitigation. So really at a glance, Anthony, the town arborist, can get into this program as they've already started doing some of the maintenance and logging it with this program. It's really a great tool to have. And it was actually pretty cheap. This was the subscription for this came with the scope of work for 3 years. It's $1,500. After 3 years, it's another $1,500 to keep it maintained. Really great tool. I'm very happy with how the report came out and was actually all done for a very reasonable cost of $8,530. So, and we have set aside additional money in this budget process to start implementing this plan. So it is recommended that Town Council approve the 2023 Town of Ross Tree Inventory and Management Plan. And that concludes my report. I'm here for questions.
Any questions from council?
Just on the fire stuff, and I understand that the report is not addressing fire issues, but there's a whole chunk of pruning that's recommended. And I would strongly encourage us to work with Ross Valley Fire Department about pruning as well, limbing up trees, having adequate space between crowns, coordinate with them before the pruning starts so that it's an opportunity to be more fire safe. Right,
and that brings up a good point. I mean, we don't necessarily want to spend public funds keeping high fire risk trees alive and in good health, and to evaluate them for removal. And sometimes, and the tree ordinance allows removal of trees, both if they're a hazard and if they improve the health of the trees around it. It's forestry management where you start clearing out trees so the other younger trees can propagate. So yeah, I think there's a lot of room to implement our FireWise strategy with moving forward with the program.
Great. Any other questions? Do you want to open it up for public comment? Seeing none?
There's none.
We'll bring it back to the council. Is there a discussion, or are we ready to adopt this plan?
I move we approve resolution 2324. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong number.
No, it's not a resolution.
So do we just adopt the tree management plan?
It's approval of it. of moving forward with the recommendations of the plan.
So moved.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you. Mayor and council, if you could just give me a second, I wanted to recognize Rich, our Public Works Director, for these last 2 agenda items. Now, as we go through our work in local government, we always have a lot of demands and we react to them the day to day, especially in the Public Works Department. And to do these kinds of these reports, a master plan about storm drains and about trees, which are recognized best practices, good governance, and to be able to move those through over this past year and get them in place is really exemplary. So I want to recognize Rich for the work that he did. And I also want to thank the council because both of the projects did entail some consultant expenses, and the council allocated funding for that in the budget process, and the staff resources. And I just thank you for that, and to Rich for that good work. Okay, thanks.
Agree. Thank you very much, Rich. Okay, moving on to item number 14. This is an item we do every year. We look at the committee reports and decide if there's any kind of movement that should be made. I understand that since this was issued, there's been 3 possible modifications proposed. One would be, Beach, am I correct? Your thought is that maybe for future continuity on the fire board that you might consider stepping down so that somebody can take it on and overlap with me into the future.
That's right.
Okay.
I think it would be a bad situation since apparently neither you nor I are going to be members of the council by the spring of 2024, and that representation on the fire district really requires some experience in terms of understanding the issues and understanding the personalities. I think it might be a good idea to get a running start on getting somebody educated about those items by having him replace me now.
That's a fair point. Well, our alternate is Elizabeth Robbins, so my proposal would be to make Elizabeth Robbins the new fire board member and then to select a new alternate. With respect to the alternate, maybe, it's tempting to make you the alternate, but it's also kind of tempting to have another council member who is new. I know you've got the Ross Valley, the Marin County Fire Prevention. I haven't talked to anybody about this, but Bill, would you consider being the alternate? I think that Elizabeth's never attended one of these meetings, so she's been the alternate for years. There hasn't really been a need for the alternate to attend, but would you consider being the alternate? Okay. And more often than not, these meetings are an hour. Occasionally we have heavier issues to tackle, but and the nice thing is they're right down in San Anselmo, so that would be great. The other item that I discussed with our city manager is the paramedics. We have been so lucky to have non-council appointments to the paramedic group, and Brian Selman and Sally Secor have for I think maybe for a long time, I think, been these positions. But because there's going to need to be further discussion regarding these facilities as we go forward with that maintenance, I'm wondering if this isn't a year where we should have a council member on and maybe an alternate council member on. And then if we do need to, you know, if that conversation passes and should Brian or Sally be so inclined to reconsider stepping up, we can talk about that. But with that, I'd like to nominate Elizabeth Robbins to be that position.
How about you place a doctor with a doctor on paramedics? I mean, that's kind of appropriate.
I would suggest that Brian has, I've talked to Brian about this position from time to time. I've never talked to him about getting out. I think maybe as a matter of courtesy to him, we ought to approach him before we make a decision.
What do people think about that? That's a good idea. Yeah, I think it only meets 4 times a year, so I think there's still time to, you know, have that 5 times a year. So I think there's a possibility that we could, you know, we'll still hit that. And if there is a desire to have an alternate, I'm council member, I'm happy to serve in that as that alternate. But why don't we leave that item, have that conversation, and then we can just put it on the consent agenda if that is the, you know, path forward. So the last change I wanted to propose is, I was wondering if we shouldn't adopt a new liaison position for the mayor and vice mayor to serve as a liaison to Ross Rec. I think that might be a nice way for, as we ramp up with 4th of July or the town dinner, there's at least a protocol for the mayor and vice mayor to have, you know, a couple opportunities to say, what's happening with this? When are we advertising? When are we, you know, how are we doing this? And then, you know, kind of feels like it's the mayor's duty to make sure it all goes smoothly anyway. So I don't think it's a big change, but it at least puts it on their radar. I really thought about this, Julie, when I got your text asking, well, where was the advertising, or when's the email blast? And I thought, God, I should have thought of that. So I'd like to propose that the mayor and vice mayor be a Ross Rec liaison, and then, you know, at least they can check in and have that as a job duty.
Can we have liaisons to departments of our government?
Well, maybe it's for the special events, town special events function of it.
I mean, I don't have any objection to what you're proposing, but I just want to make sure we do it the right way.
Yeah, it just seems to me a little redundant, given that the town manager oversees Ross Rec, and the mayor and the mayor pro tem are already working hand in hand with the town manager, so I'm not sure that it's.
I did talk to Krista about it, and she wasn't against this idea. I mean, part of it comes down to the fact that we do have town manager changing, we have Ross Rec changing, and so for those of us on council, particularly, you know, it's like an opportunity for us to say, hey, in years past, you know, we had these signs for the 4th of July. Can we make sure those are out? I mean, maybe it's just that additional check-in, but I'm not sure. It certainly went off my radar to check in about that and ask some of these questions and make sure that those things are properly, or for that matter, I had no idea until today that the town dinner that's always the last September of the month got moved. And I understand why it got moved, but I'm not attending it because I didn't know it was going to be moved.
Mayor and council, I like Councilmember Cool's idea about, I think it is good input for the events, especially because there has been so much turnover amongst town staff, and And, but I think it might be a good idea to have it be limited to special events. That would be that'd be something I would feel, I think, most comfortable with. So not all their operations, but special events.
And in the budget meeting, when we were talking about money to allocate to Ross Rec, we talked about coming back together as a council just to try to clarify just how are we budgeting money? Are we giving, money for a full year, or would Ross Rec continue to raise money, do the decorations and things that they've always done, and then the town contributes to their special events the way we have the last couple of years? And that would sort of clarify the town's role and Ross Rec's role also. I mean, that would be an agenda item for the
Well,
future.
That was Ross Property Owners Association.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That's our POA, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, which would be
Yeah, sorry, I was thinking.
Ross Rec, although
No, Ross Rec.
Couldn't you just have, in June and in August, on your agenda, when you check in with Krista, let's have the Ross Rec liaison or manager come over and chat with us for 10 minutes, rather than have an official duty of being the liaison to Ross Rec. I mean, I could see being the liaison to Ross Rec when it was separate and there was a board and there was a public face and that whole thing. But I think it's kind of odd to have a liaison for a department, and even if it is just only confined to special events, it seems kind of redundant to me.
Well, one thing we could also do, something for you to consider is, especially if you want input from community members, is we could have an agenda item at a town council meeting earlier in the year, let's say January, where we talk about the town events for the year. And so that would be an opportunity for our staff to describe the things that they're working on or new elements, and the council could provide feedback, suggestions, and the community could too, because it would be on the agenda. So that's an opportunity for all members of the council to provide input too. So
Do you mean like
another
a Ross
option.
Rec update the way there's an RPOA update on the agenda?
Yeah, or actually, but just an agenda item where we have a staff report and we talking about kind of what staff's vision is, and then the council could react to that and provide your own suggestions. So if you want to have horses in the parade, you could all talk about horses in the parade. Just giving an example.
H, you have a question?
It seems to me that Ross Rec is a department of our government, and it's an important one in terms of providing services to a wide range of the community. I wonder if we shouldn't just start with having the Ross Rec director come in every quarter or something and report on what's going on. She's never here.
Mm-hmm.
Or by Zoom.
How do we know, if we have this conversation now that we're asking to have check-in about special events, how do we know that staff has a system in place to say, every January we come in, or every 4 months we come in? Because it does seem like sometimes those kind of things go off the radar. Is there some tickler you have in your system, either clerk or town manager?
Well, first I want to just respond to Councilmember Coles. So actually last year we started doing quarterly updates. It was actually when Elizabeth Breckus was mayor pro tem, she requested it during a council meeting. And so we had one that kind of morphed in more of a conversation about the after-school care program. And we were planning, and so during I have a weekly meeting with staff, and we go through the upcoming agendas, and I had scheduled out these quarterly meetings. And then I had one, and to be honest, the mayor and the mayor pro tem at the time the agenda was too full. So we didn't do it that time. So I'm aware of it, and I like the idea, and it's an opportunity to celebrate too and show the great things we're doing. So my intention is to have Ross Recreation come and on a quarterly basis and give an update to the council, and try not to be repetitive. And that would be an opportunity for the council to provide input, and we could just do it on a quarterly, basis. But we could also have one that was more focused on special events in January. So for example, staff could say, you know, the idea for the town, we're looking at such and such date for the town dinner. We recommend doing it on this date because it avoids that, a Jewish holiday, or we recommend doing it this, and get council's feedback in that time with plenty of, because they plan, it takes quite a while to plan these. Now, the reason our rec manager is not here right now, normally she would be at least through the beginning of the meeting, but she has a newborn baby, and so I told her, you don't have an item on the agenda. Trying to be family friendly and keep our employees, want to make sure she wants to come back. But in a few meetings, she'll start coming to all the meetings in the beginning, just like the chief did. And then he doesn't have to
My
stay.
concern is that I don't want to get into the weeds at a council meeting where I ask for, can you make sure the sign is there? Can the Ross Fire Department not blow the horn so loud at the parade? Can we advertise it with the IJ 2 weeks in advance? I feel like nobody wants to get into the weeds at a council meeting on those things. And yet, if it's your year as mayor, you kind of feel like the town dinner and 4th of July should go off without a hitch. So I guess I'm not really proposing, I mean, I see the point that you're making, Beach, about, you know, I don't think it's appropriate for that, but, you know, there were a number of things I would have, as much as I thought the 4th of July was really great, had I had it in my radar before, I would have checked in about, you know, a number of things so that it was, and I'm just not sure how to make that happen. I was the one who was Googling when I ran that last 4th of July parade, how do towns run 4th of July parades? Because I didn't want to ever be asked again to do this. So I'm not really trying to, you know, take over the parade or the town dinner, but I also think that, you know, when you have new staff turnover, it goes off people. Some of the traditions go off, and so I don't know. I don't know if I don't really want to go into the weeds like that at a council meeting.
I think you and the mayor pro tem starting in May can say, Krista, what's going on? Yeah, or earlier, what's going on with the 4th of July? Can you bring the Ross rec manager over here so we can talk to her for 10 minutes and just do it like that? I agree. We don't want to have all 5 of us sitting here talking about advertising and that kind of stuff. So I just put that on your own agenda.
I'm happy doing it that way if that's how you want to do it. I just thought if you call it, hey, we're the liaison for these special events, and then, you know, people remember. I got 1 year left. I'm going to focus on the town dinner that I'm not attending because I didn't know it was moved. But you know, you guys can handle it how you want to in the future.
There's so much going on at any one given time. I'm wondering whether there isn't some way to kind of remind us about this, or some kind of tickler thing or system we can just set up. So we know that, you know, we're always going to check at a certain time on the next, and you name it. I mean, town dinner or 4th of July or the other events that we typically do have every year.
I'm sorry, so you call it a subcommittee. It's a subcommittee on council subcommittee on town special events. I mean, I don't know if a liaison is the thing that's bothering people, but you just say the subcommittee for special events of the council is the mayor and vice mayor.
I mean, you're right about the people. I mean, it should be the mayor, and if you need another person, the vice mayor.
Well, and you don't even know, in May, you don't even know who's gonna get elected vice mayor, right? So.
But the vice mayor's known, so they need to shoulder that burden.
Yeah,
Right.
typically they would.
So Mayor Pro Tem Kircher, I want to make sure I'm responding to you. So you're talking about, you want to make sure you know the dates of the events, or that because I agree, you all should know the dates of the events. Or what is it that you want to?
Well, it's not the dates themselves so much. It's just that we're talking about starting to get ready for an event or publicizing an event in advance of the event. And I'm just wondering if there isn't sort of a system to remind us, this is coming up, and typically we get going on this 4 weeks ahead of time, so we can be sure that there's publicity or this or that is happening. I mean, a lot of that is what the Ross Rec manager is doing, but to the extent we're having input. I mean, as we're talking, I'm just thinking, okay, what's next? The town dinner, okay, now, and
Yeah,
maybe just have a timetable or something where
of
we.
course. Yeah, I can provide that.
Yeah.
I can ask our rec manager to prepare that and give it to you. And I'm happy to provide information. I think where I'm learning still too is that the council here has had in the past a lot more participation. So the Mayor Breckus talks about when you used to plan it or used to plan the dinner, that's a very different experience that I have ever had with the council and our rec manager too. And so we just have to remember, you have a lot of opinions and memories about what's happened in the past, and we need to make sure that we're including you. And I'm hearing that from you. So I'm happy to do it however you want. I would only want to make sure that as we have new council members that come on board, if we have a couple of council members that are saying, well, we really want to have this at the event. We really want to have this at this amenity, and it costs money or it takes a lot of staff time. I'm going to need to bring back to the whole council. I don't just want to be taking direction from 2 members of the council if it comes to like budget and significant staff things. I'm just going to be sensitive to that. So, and if that ends up being the case, then I'll check in with the council. Beach?
We should keep in mind that there are some items, events, these concerts on the Commons that basically have been largely run or planned by RPOA. But if we're going to take this step, we may as well get involved in it. I guess I'm not unsure about what Ross Rec's role is in those events, but they are special events. And if we've got concerns about how they're being run, maybe we've got to step into them too.
So the staff's role in those events is really limited. And so in the last 2 years, during the budget process, and I've brought forward to you the Ross Property Owners Association request for funding, it says in the backup materials in that is that staff's role is beyond law enforcement, is primarily infrastructure related. So we have a staff person who can spend some amount of time, if it's on a Monday through Friday, handling things like lighting or making sure the sprinklers don't go off in the middle of the event. But that it's a cost for us RPOA would want us to help staff it. And I've been trying to balance that. So we do quite a bit of coordination. They actually apply for a special events permit. And as part of that special event permit process, our staff meets with them on the Ross Common. We talk about things. So we do have, and our coordination has been improving over this past year and a half. And it's during the budget process that I've been encouraging Ross Property Owners Association is if there's something that they want, that it needs to be very clear to the council, and that it's your money. And if you want to be more active in these events, that's fine, but I'll need to respond with what kind of staff we'll need to do it and what kind of resources we'll need to do it.
Well, it sounds like we all have said what we have to say. How many people think it's advisable to have a standing subcommittee by the mayor, vice mayor on special events, specifically the 4th of July and town dinner? And how many people think it's not?
I think it's not.
I like the idea, as a limited purpose thing, just to get this all kind of organized. I don't know that it has to be ongoing, but at least a temporary committee, I would be in favor of.
I'd be in favor
special
of just
events.
making it informal. I mean, it kind of goes with the territory. You're mayor, you're vice mayor, you pay attention to the events and kind of play a role.
I'm sort of in the middle. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to see, I hate to see us adding functions that we don't need. I recognize that there are some reasons that you could argue that it would be helpful to have people having some oversight of these events. So I guess my vote would be, let's try having you get involved and see how it works and whether we really need it.
And you're kind of appointing yourself, so if you want it, go ahead and do it.
Well, why don't we try this on a one-year trial and we'll go from there. Next year, whoever takes this up can decide if they want to re-up the discussion.
We
Okay.
can give reports when we get to that point of the agenda, any committee reports. Yes, we met and we decided that, well, whatever.
Okay, so that is the item for approval. I don't think there's.
I'm wondering, Beach, if you would like to resume your role on the homelessness committee, and I could be the alternate.
Well, the answer is I wouldn't like to.
Well, since
But
you're
I
no
might
longer
do-
mayor,
but I might do it.
that was kind of our arrangement.
I'll take it back if you want.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Are there any other discussions around this appointment list? Okay, do we need yes?
Just a quick question. Councilmember McMillan, I noticed that there's not an alternate for the Marin Wildfire Prevention JPA. Is that something that you might need?
I'm going to be president of that starting in August. So no, I don't anticipate, maybe after that role is done. Yes, but I have to be there for all the meetings and all the executive meetings and working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, if there's an alternate that we can have, I mean, I'm sure you're going to be at all the meetings, but if for some reason there was a meeting you couldn't attend unexpectedly, then we should have an alternate, because otherwise we don't have a right to send some council member and vote on something you want voted on.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like a no commitment job. I'm happy doing it, just in
You'll
case.
never have to come as long
Perfect.
as I'm the person.
All right.
Yeah. Unless I die or something, or fall in the street.
Well, we're gonna knock in wood and throw salt, but
No. Just watch out
just
for
in case
high-risk
there's
trees.
ever a reason you're,
Yeah.
then at least we have a voting member of it if we
Okay.
need it.
And I have a couple other questions. Is the Economic Recovery Committee still going on, Elizabeth? So that should be taken off? Yeah, okay, great.
Okay,
And then I also had a question about the flood zone 9. I'm just wondering if that should be a council person or not. I don't know. I feel like Rich does a great job keeping us apprised of what's going on.
they meet so seldom, they have no power.
Hmm.
I've been content with the times we've asked Chris to attend and the times that Rich has given us direction. I mean, that's my thought.
Okay.
Because if it was a power position, then God knows, I think the flood district could use Ross's direction and thoughts. But I'm just saying, because it's advisory and there's nothing, they literally get told, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm just
Chris was
concerned.
reelected as
Yeah,
co-chair
but
too,
it's,
so.
Oh,
but it stirs up a lot of conversation among some people in the town who are
But it's-
regular attenders, regular sending emails and stuff.
That can be different than if a council
It isn't, but all I'm saying is, it's its deliberations stir up some discussion among a limited number of people who are concerned about it. I try to go to all the meetings.
Should there be a request that our non-council appointees report back to us, just as any council appointee would report back?
Yep, I think that's a good idea. I think we should ask.
Otherwise,
for-
they're hardly representing us. I mean, we don't know what happened. I mean, we do, thanks to you, Rich, for the flood board, but, you know, we don't really know what
Maybe-
happened, and we don't know what they're saying on our behalf. So
Maybe what
we
we
should
can
have a
do is-
closer relationship.
Ask them to send, a paragraph or something, and then if the mayor or vice mayor thinks it's worthy of reporting to the council because something's happening, we give that report as part of the committee reports or something.
I have to say, having been at the meetings, Rich gives great reports about what he understands a lot more than I do, for example.
I would agree with that. Anything else? Should we, yes?
In regard to the paramedic, so process here, so you want me to consult with, or Mayor, do you want to consult with?
I will, and
Mr.
then
Salmon?
we'll put it back on the consent as to that position in a future meeting.
Okay. The August meeting, I know that the authority meets in September.
Okay.
So on the consent or on the regular agenda?
I would put it on consent. That would be my suggestion.
If he doesn't want to do it, or
Why don't I talk to him and
Yeah.
we'll
we can,
finesse that?
we can talk about that. Okay.
I have one more question. On these standing committees, like community protection, I guess I was the chair of that last year, and I'm going to be the chair this year. What exactly are the duties for that position?
I do not know.
In the past, what has happened is when we've had an issue that we wanted to address something, like, for example, hey, fire alarms, or, let's change the way we're doing it. Oftentimes that committee has met, looked at an ordinance with the police chief, gone over that ordinance. So it's really been ad hoc when it's been used, but
Okay.
I certainly have, at least, I think Beach and I were on, I feel like Beach and I are always on these committees together, so I think we've looked at ordinances numerous times over the years, but it's really been as needed.
Okay.
Why don't we open this up to public comment? Is there any public comment on this item?
There's no hands raised online.
Okay. Bringing it back, is there, it says approval, so does anybody move to approve this committee liaison list?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember McMillan? Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Cool?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mayor Breckus?
Hi.
Mayor Pro Tem Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
Okay, with a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Okay, that leads us to our final items. So we have council number 16A, council correspondence. Has anyone received any? Council item 16B, future council items. Are there any such items? Okay, move to adjourn. Now we're going to reopen the special council meeting.
Right, I have to stop this Zoom and open up another Zoom, so it'll take
Got
a
it.
couple minutes.